Hey everyone, Marco here and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to show you how to automate sending forms and receiving responses using Tana, Make.com and Typeform. We will use a classic client feedback form as our example, but this method is highly adaptable and can work with any type of form you need. Here's how we'll break it down. First, we'll set the base structure in Tana. Next, I'll show you an important settings to configure in Typeform. Then, we will build two automation on Make.com, one to send form and the other to handle the responses. Finally, we will test the entire workflow to make sure everything runs seamlessly. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first thing I want to do in Tana is create some super tags. In this example, we will send client feedback after completing a project. We will likely have a company tag for the client, a person tag for the company's contact, a project tag to track the project, and a feedback tag to send and store the client feedback related to the project. If you're new to Tana and unfamiliar with super tags, I've already published a video on the topic. I'll include the link in the description below. Let's set up these super tags. I'm planning to publish a video soon on building a CRM in Tana, but for this tutorial, I'll keep things very simple just to give you some context. In the company super tag, I can create a contact field that displays options from the person super tag. In the person super tag, I will create a company field that lists options from the company super tag, and an email field to store the contact's email. For the project super tag, I can add a stakeholders field that lists option from the person super tag, and additionally, I will include a project status field to track the project's progress with options such as to do, in progress, and completed. Lastly, for the feedback super tag, we can use the contact field from the company super tag to represent the person to whom we will send the form. We can also enhance the email field by enabling the AI enhanced field, which will help us fill this field easily based on information stored in the parent node, and a project field that will be automatically populated with a reference to the ancestor node that has the project super tag. Now that we have the super tags, let's create a company, a person, and a project. Let's populate the fields stored in each super tag. The contact for company ABC is John Smith. John is associated with company ABC, and his email is john.smith@companyabc.com. The stakeholder for project X is also John, and since the project has been completed, we know that we need to send a client feedback form to him. To get started, the first step is to create a feedback node in Tana. For example, underneath the project node, I create a new node named Company ABC Feedback and tag it as feedback. Notice that since I created the feedback node underneath the project node, the project field is automatically populated. Next, in the contact field, I'll add John Smith, and by clicking the spark icon in the email field, the system automatically retrieves the email address from John Smith's node. Now, with everything set up, how do we actually send the form to John? To accomplish this, we will create a command. Start by typing send feedback, Then open the command palette with Command K or Ctrl K on Windows and search for Convert to Command Node. The command we are looking for is Make API Request. Open the configuration panel and for now skip the URL field. First, we need to set the API method. Since we will send data from Tana to our automation on make.com, we will set this to post. Then, we need to add our Tana API key in the authorization header field. To create an API key, click on Settings, API Tokens, and Create. Now, in the authorization header field, write bearer space and copy your API key. Then we need to add the payload field. Here we define the data stored in our feedback form that we want to send over to make.com in JSON format. To write this JSON, start with an opening curly bracket, then add a key value pair. In this case, I want to send the name of the node, the name of the contact, the email, and the node ID. Finally, set the parse result field to disregard. Now let's make this command a clickable button next to our client feedback nodes. To do this, open the Feedback SuperTag configuration panel. Under the AI and Commands section, reference the Send Feedback command in the Command Palette field. As you'll see, a clickable button now appears next to the feedback node. To optimize this further, I recommend setting filters to automatically show or hide the button based on certain parameters. For example, I only want the button visible when the email field is set and the form hasn't been sent to the client yet. Here's how to set it up. First, we need to add a checkbox field inside the feedback SuperTag and name it something like Sent to the client. Keep this field always hidden since it's only for filtering. Second, in the command configuration, apply a node filter specifying that the button should appear only when the Sent to the client field is unchecked. And the email field exists and contains a value. Finally, after sending the feedback form to the client, update the Sent to the client field to true. This ensures the button disappears once the form has been sent. Now, before we dive into building the two automations in make.com, let's clarify a key aspect of this workflow. When we use the Send Feedback button to send the form to the client, they'll receive an email with a link to the form. They'll fill it out and submit the responses. So far so good, it's straightforward. But here's the crucial question. Where do we collect these responses? The goal is to gather responses directly under the corresponding feedback node. To achieve this, we will use the unique node ID of the feedback node. Here's how we set it up. I'll start by opening the form I've prepared in Typeform. In the Share tab, you'll find the standard URL for the form. Next, head to the Logic tab, select Personalize with Data, and then choose Hidden Fields. Here we can define custom fields that will be appended to the form's URL. Let's create a hidden field called Node ID and publish the updated form. While the main URL stays the same, it now includes the hidden field we just added. For the first automation, we'll dynamically replace this placeholder with the actual feedback node ID. Then, when the client submits their responses, the second automation will retrieve all the responses along with the node ID stored in the hidden field. This ID will allow us to append the responses to the correct feedback node. If this feels a bit unclear, don't worry. We are about to build these automations step by step in make.com. It will all come together in action. So, make.com is an automation platform that connects up and automates workflows without requiring any coding skills. If you'd like to try it out, you can access the make.com Pro plan free for a month by using my affiliate link in the description below, including 10,000 operations per month. So let's start by creating a new scenario and name it Send Client Feedback. The first step is to add a custom webhook module. Click Add, name it Tana Send Client Feedback, and hit Save. Copy the generated URL, click OK, and save the scenario. This URL needs to be pasted into the Tana command we created earlier. So go to the Make API Request command in Tana, click Edit Configuration, and paste the webhook URL in the URL field. This ensures that when the Send Feedback command is triggered, the data defined in the payload field will be sent directly to make.com. Now, to test the webhook, open the make.com scenario and click Run Once. This puts the scenario in waiting mode to receive data. Go back to Tana and trigger the Send Feedback command. Once done, the data will appear in make.com. You can check the status there to confirm everything is working. Next, we'll send a personalized email to the client, starting with retrieving the contact's first name. To do this, add a set variable module and name it first name. Make provides various functions, and for this task, we'll use the split function. This function allows us to split text based on a separator. In this case, the text we want to split is the contact's name, which we retrieved through the webhook. The separator is a space, as the first and last names are separated by a space. The result of the split function will be an array. To extract the first name, we'll use another function to retrieve the first item in the array, which corresponds to the first name. Now, for this example, instead of sending an email, we'll prepare a draft. So let's add the Create Draft module for the email. Specify the drafts folder and add the client's email address that we retrieved through the webhook. For the subject, we could write feedback request, your thoughts matter, and in the email body, include something like hey, and here we insert the first name of the contact, a couple of line break. It was a pleasure to work with you. As we wrap things up, I would greatly appreciate your feedback. I've created a short form that will only take about 2 minutes to fill out. Another line break. You can access the feedback form, and using HTML we create a clickable word, some space, best, other space, and your name. Now here we need to insert our form URL. And here, inside the node ID hidden field, we will remove the placeholder and insert the node ID retrieved by the webhook. Save the scenario and test it by clicking Run Once again. Then go back to Tana and hit the Send Feedback button. When you check the Drafts folder in your email, you will see your email draft ready with the correct information, including the personalized first name and the form link. Now let's create a second scenario and call it Receive Client Feedback. Add the Watch Responses module from Typeform. Choose the form where we'll receive the feedback, and save the module and the scenario. Before testing it, click on Show Address and copy the URL. Go to Typeform, navigate to the Connect tab, click on Webhooks, add a webhook, and paste the address here. Enable it, and click on View Deliveries. In Make, click Run Once, and trigger a Send Test request from Typeform. If the response is 200, everything is working. In fact, if you go back to Make, you will see that the node ID field and all the mappable answers have been received from the webhook. Now we need to send the responses we receive to Tana by creating a plain node in JSON format. To do this, we'll use the create.json module. Click on Add and name the data structure Tana Client Feedback Response. Click Generate to create the structure. You can then insert sample data, which can be found in the Tana Input API documentation. Copy and paste the plain node with the field example as a starting template, and adjust it to suit your needs. For this particular case, I want to append the form responses under the feedback nodes in Tana using a structure that should look like this: client feedback, the question, and the answer. Another question, and the answer, and so on. So I'll start by copying and pasting the plain node with the field template here. But since the space is limited, it's easier to work with a formatter like jsonlint.com for better readability. First, I need to specify the target node ID by adding target node ID colon node ID. Next, I define the parent node name as client feedback, and under this parent, I will list each question, and beneath each question, I will add the corresponding response. Looking at the form, which contains 5 questions, I'll copy and paste this section 4 more times to account for all questions. Click on Validate JSON to check for any errors. Copy the validated JSON and paste it into the JSON module on make.com. Click Generate, and then Save. Next, we need to map the JSON fields. For the target node ID, select the value stored in the node ID hidden field. Add the parent node client feedback. And for the first child, this will be the first question, such as overall satisfaction, with the corresponding answer as its value. For the second child, communication and collaboration, and select the corresponding answer. Similarly, map the remaining questions, quality of deliverables, areas of improvement, and testimonial, each with their respective responses. Now we need to send all the data to Tana. The final module will be an HTTP request. In the URL field, insert the endpoint, which can be found in the Tana Input API documentation. Set the method to post, since we are sending data to Tana. Add an authorization header, and in the value field, insert bearer, followed by a space, and then your Tana API key. Set the body type to raw and the content type to JSON. In the request content field, insert the result from the JSON module. Once everything is set up, save the scenario and activate it. And don't forget to activate the other scenario as well. Then delete the draft and test the entire workflow from scratch. Here's how the process works. I have my feedback request ready to be sent to the client. I hit the button and the draft appears. I open the link fill out the form, and submit it. Finally, when I return to Tana, I'll find all the answers neatly organized under the feedback node. And that's a wrap. Sending feedback after a project is an essential component that can significantly enhance both client relationships and project outcomes. Plus, now you can automate this process directly in Tana. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. I'd also love to hear about your current process to manage client feedback, so share it in the comments below. And remember, you can follow me on X and Mastodon, join my Discord server, and sign up for my bi-weekly newsletter. I share all things productivity, knowledge management, and automation. Stuff you will not want to miss. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, stay productive.